Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be a general basics guide to the spider dungeon, when you should farm it, how to farm it effectively, all of that. So let's get into it. Alrighty, first of all, big shout out to Punchfight, my newest patron. Really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And okay, so for the spider den, first of all, what is the spider den? The spider den is going to be the dungeon here where we have the Scava, I think is what the boss is called, but it's, basically like this big spider that spawns all of these little minions that attack you and apply poisons to you and all that. And the spider dungeon is probably one of the most interesting ones because it's very tough and it's different than all of the other dungeons in the fact that there's no stages. Like, there's no kill minions, and then boss fight. You just go straight into the boss fight. There's no stages. And with her spawning mechanics, and she's very tough. She heals herself and is immune to heal reduction and all those things. So a very interesting dungeon, and also drops jewelry, not artifacts. So a very popular one. Everybody wants to find those good rings and amulets and banners that are so tough to get. So I wanted to throw a basics guide out there so people know how to farm it and when to farm it. So yeah, as far as when should you farm the spider den, if you're a new player, I would just kind of come here randomly and clear kind of the highest you can go on auto, which is probably going to be like stage 4. Most players are going to be very strong magic affinity wise, because that's what your starting champ is. So that's kind of usually the affinity you tend to go towards, and also magic champions seem to be very common. So you're probably going to be farming like stage 4, stage 8 if you're kind of a newish to mid-level player. I would not recommend grinding the spider dungeon for like hundreds of energy straight until you can farm stage 12. I have not grinded the spider dungeon yet. I'm just now kind of getting to a point where I would think about doing it, because I can do stage 12. It does take a long time. It takes 5 minutes. But stage 12 is where you're going to be not getting common and uncommon drops anymore. You'll be at least getting rares every time. And, the odds for getting banners is gonna be that much better, and it's spirit affinity, so odds are you're gonna have a really strong party to go against that stage. So I would recommend don't grind this dungeon until you can do stage 12, and it can be very tough for a lot of players to get to stage 12 because stage 11 is force, and force is typically the toughest dungeon affinity for people to clear. I know it was for me. You can see it took 9 minutes. I did do it on auto and was able to do it. If I didn't kill it on auto, I probably would have taken the time to play it manually just to get to stage 12, because then I know I'm going to be strong. But yeah, I will show you the party that I'm going to be using to grind the spider dungeon. Excuse me. And so for my leader, I'm going to be going with Adriel. And the reason being is her aura is increased magic ally speed in all battles by 21%. So that's really good. And she's also brings a heal and a reflect damage and all that. I am going to be kind of kicking around some other ideas for a leader. Like, I know Spider here is going to increase ally speed by 25%, so a little bit more, and then brings a little bit of other utility. So I'm going to be kind of playing around with that, but for now I'm going to be doing Adriel because I've got her well geared and I'm using a magic party. And then I'm going to be using Apothecary to just, if anybody gets low from poisons and stuff, to boost them back up, and mainly for this boon of speed so that he can crank out even more speed than my leader is and fill up my turn meters so that we can go just get as many turns as possible. Then I'm going to be bringing 3 damage dealers. That's kind of a good way to go about it, is like a support, a turn meter booster, and 3 damage dealers is kind of a generic way to play it. It just depends on what you have. You can go with 5 damage dealers that can all heal themselves. Just put like lifesteal gear on them and stuff. So it's gonna kind of depend on what you have. But yeah, I'm kind of going with the 2 supports, and then the 3 damage dealers are going to be Kale. Obviously, he's amazing for the spider den. Aethel is also, you know, pretty good versus the Spider Den. I would go with Elaine. Elaine would actually be better at the Spider Dungeon than Aethel, but since I have Aethel 6-star, I'm going to go with her instead of Elaine. And then my last one is going to be Lord Champ 4. Was actually my first legendary to max out, take the 6-star, and use enough skill books to max out their skills. So Lord Champford is currently on his way to 60 as Apothecary is, and they are both very close. So that's kind of the party that I'm going with. Important notes for the Spider Dungeon is, you know, decreasing her turn meter is very effective, and she is immune to heal reduction. So you can't, you know, stop her from consuming spiderlings and healing, and I'll kind of go over that during the fight. Some of you gave me some input that you wanted to see me actually show a battle instead of just kind of talking. So I will show you kind of what my grinding process here, shifting towards the end game, is going to be for the Spider Dungeon. So let's go to stage 12. And then we can see my party here. We've got our Speed Aura and Healer. Then we've got our turn meter booster / healer and Apothecary. And then we've got our 3 damage dealers. And I also forgot to note that it's good to equip your damage dealers with the vampire set, the lifesteal, because they're going to be healing a lot. If they're doing a lot of AoE versus all the minions and stuff, that lifesteal gear is going to help keep them topped off and keep them healed. So it can be very good in a fight like this. And I do want to experiment, since I do have 2 healers, having one of them you know, shift. I'll probably have like Lord Champfort shift more towards attack because he has the highest HP. But yeah, that's kind of something I'm thinking about, and I'll have to kind of min-max and 3-craft as I go to the end game. Alright, so here we are. We are in the Spider battle, and first I'll kind of go over her abilities really quickly. Healing Assured makes her immune to heal reduction debuffs. Spiderling Horde. Spawn 2 Spiderlings at the start of each enemy champion's turn. So that means each one of your champion's turns, she's going to spawn 2 Spiderlings. Spawn 4 Spiderlings at the end of Skaveg's turn. That means, you know, the Spider Queen or whatever, at the end of her turn, she's going to spawn 4 Spiderlings. So that's why AoE is so important in this dungeon. There's going to be a constant flow of these little Spiderlings out there. Skaveg consumes all remaining Spiderlings at the start of each turn. If Skaveg consumes Spiderlings, she will not consume them on the following turn. Now, one thing I want to note about this is if you're like at a super hard stage and you're trying to play it manually or whatever, it can actually be good to save 1 or 2 Spiderlings and let her consume them. It just it puts that ability on cooldown and gives her the minimum benefit possible from it. So that can be something to kind of play around with if you're really trying to min-max a tough level to complete. Skaveg heals by 3% of her max HP for each Spiderling consumed, and permanently increases her attack by 10% for each Spiderling consumed. This is why it's very important to kill these Spiderlings. It can this fight can really snowball out of control on you. So you really need to be doing a good job managing the Spiderlings, killing them consistently, and not letting her snowball. Heals from lifesteal artifacts and skills that heal based on damage inflicted will only heal champions by 35% of the stated amount when attacking Skaveg or her Spiderlings. So this basically means, you know, your healing abilities that kind of steal life, like the vampire set, are not going to be near as effective, but they are still very good because you're putting out so much damage on the map that they are still very good. And you know, when it comes to farming, I always recommend farming at a level you can play on auto. You know, you're not going to want to sit here and grind a dungeon, you know, playing manually for hours on end. So if a stage is that tough for you, you probably want to drop it down a little bit and farm a different level. So that was one note I wanted to make quick mention of. And Feeble here, attack all enemies, 70% chance of decreasing the turn meter by 30%. If a target's turn meter is fully depleted, places a sleep debuff for 1 turn. That's a powerful ability, but thankfully it's on a 4-turn cooldown. And you can see in the middle there, that little 3, that is the cooldown there. So you can kind of tell when it's coming up next. And then Venom Spray, attack all enemies, damage increases by 15% if the target has poison debuffs. So that means that, you know, a hero that removes debuffs from all allies can be, you know, helping you sustain here. But, you know, yeah, there's, other than that, there's not a whole lot to it. You just need a lot of AoE, and you know, don't feel bad if the fight takes 5-6 minutes. It's perfectly common when you get to the later, you know, grindy type stages of the spider dungeon. And I haven't perfectly min-maxed my party yet. I'm probably gonna get to a point where I can do stage 12 in, you know, 3.5 minutes, but it's currently probably gonna take me 6 minutes or so. So yeah, you know, I'll just kind of do some random chit chat and let you kind of see how the battle plays out here. And you know, I'm also wondering if I should bring like just Apothecary and bring like a 4th damage dealer, so like 1 support and 4 damage dealers, just to kind of clear things out a little more often. But you know, that's gonna depend on your army and who you have. I should also go over what types of characters are going to be really good in the Spider Dungeon. It's going to be characters that have multiple AoE abilities. You know, someone like Bellower, Nazana, you know, multiple attack all abilities. Elaine is a starting champ. Elaine is probably the best in the Spider Dungeon of all the starter champs, because she has those 2 attack alls. But like I said, I had to use Aethel instead of Elaine just because, you know, she has Giant Slayer and she's 6-star and all that. So that's why I'm not using Elaine. But Elaine is very good in the Spider Dungeon. Kale has that ability that fills up his turn meter based on kills, which he gets a lot of here with the little spiderlings. So he can get a lot of turns in and do a lot of damage. Yeah, Sylar is good. You know, there's lots of champions that do a lot of AoE and kind of turn meter manipulation. Also, one random note is there's a strategy kind of that some endgame players have played around with, where you just play manual and burst down the Spider Queen as fast as possible. You know, with heroes like Royal Guard and stuff that do damage based on enemy max HP, or you know, and can, you know, stack a lot of crit on them and hit for like 200,000 or 300,000 and just do a ton of damage and just burst her down. That's something I haven't played with yet. I will probably look into that at some point, but like I said, I don't want to be playing manually when I'm grinding, so it's not something I'm super interested in trying out ASAP. But yeah, also generally I wouldn't, you know, I said this a little bit earlier, but I wouldn't rush into farming the Spider Queen. And you know, like I'm like a level 58 or something, and I'm just now gonna start grinding the Spider Dungeon. I'll probably spend, you know, a few hundred energy, see if I can't get some banners. Like, I don't, for any of my 6 stars, I don't think I have a banner. So, you know, it is time for me to start kind of grinding and getting those banners. It's going to help me out a lot. So, I will be doing that pretty soon here. And now we can see the spider is getting close to dead. And this ability here is currently still on a 1-turn cooldown. So, we shouldn't have any problem bursting her down right there. And then, as you can see, we got a 5-star epic. So it's got crit damage and accuracy. You know, ideally for main stats, you're looking for crit damage is really good on amulets, or like HP percentage and stuff like that for tanks and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of the general gist of the Spider Dungeon. Just to quickly wrap up, I don't recommend grinding it super hard until you can do level 12 at least, because the drops are a lot better and the rates of the banner dropping is a lot better. Like, when I said rates earlier, I meant like you're going to be getting rares and epics instead of like uncommons and stuff. So yeah, don't do it until level 12. Bring lots of AoE, have lots of speed, turn meter reduction can be good. And yeah, if you have any questions, drop it down in the comments and I'll do my best to help you out. So as always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.